All right, back on MorningLine talking local national politics, touched bases on the citizenship issue, as well as, you know, the caravans making their way to the border, all those coming up as these political races continue. Professor Thomas Schwartz is with us from Vanderbilt. The other thing, too, I mean, campaign push to November 6th is really full throttle right now. The president himself, I think he and his wife are going to be in Pittsburgh today, you know, in observance of the mass shooting there. But then after that, sounds like he's going to be barnstorming, not so much his Make America Great rallies, but more barnstorming around the country in the last few days for candidates in various states. I mean,
he's targeting all the really close Senate races.
Well, he'll be coming here.
Yes,
he'll be coming to here, and I think it's Chattanooga's where that's going to be, right? So, yeah, the folks are out there voting, no question, would you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, the early voting numbers this time around have, especially here in Tennessee, compared to the last midterm, have been really astounding. So.
Yeah, and you interpret that just in that you've got incumbency where they're gone, Bob Corker not in it, so you got two new faces running for the Senate, things like that. Same with the governor.
I think there's a couple of factors. One is we have two very contested races, which we haven't had in a while, the governor and the Senate race, and the second being Trump. That Trump has tried to nationalize the race, tried to make it about himself, and that's going to drive voters to the polls.
Yeah, and I think when you say drive voters to the polls, it's both ways.
Both ways.
I mean, folks who can't stand him are going to vote, and folks who love him are going to get out there and vote. And we'll see if it's, in some ways, depending on how this plays out, if it's a referendum on the president himself before he has to run in 2 years. Let's take some calls. We'll go to Paul. Paul, good morning. Hi, Paul.
Hey, good morning. Good morning,
Paul.
Nick.
What's on your mind, Paul?
Hey, good morning to the professor there.
Good morning.
A couple of quick things, Nick, I want to hit on about the 14th Amendment. I'm a supporter of the 14th Amendment. I don't think it's archaic at all, and the notion that it's become archaic is, of course, being put out there by Donald Trump. Well, if that's the case, I want to say that the Second Amendment can be considered archaic too, because you know what, it was about in the Revolutionary War, it was about having the same weapons as the military. Well, in the Revolutionary War, they had a one-shot flintlock, a musket that could shoot one time a minute. All right, now you can get an AR-15 that can kill 30 people in a minute. So I think the Second Amendment may be a little archaic, Nick. And to get back to the immigration thing, if he changes that 14th Amendment, yeah, it's going to be challenged, and it's absolutely going to be decided by the Supreme Court, Nick. But he has finagled the Supreme Court into he can just get anything passed that he wants to. So you know what? He's fine with that, and get into the Senate race here in Tennessee. Look. Now, I'm absolutely voting for Phil Bredesen. I think he's 10 times better candidate than Marsha Blackburn. She has ran a complete nasty political campaign. She's got on everybody paying, want to raise taxes. You can tell that that's just a made-up deal. They actually made his lips move. You can see it. It's not real. And then they want to talk about, she wants to talk about letting women be sexually harassed. I find that hypocritical that they would even post something like that about the women being sexually harassed with what just happened in Washington. I think it's completely bizarre what the Republican Party is doing, and they're catering with the caravan coming here, Nick, like we talked the other day. I believe that they're fear mongering and they're pitching it to the extreme right because that's what they believe, that the extreme right is going to get them elected. I'm sorry, now that's just my opinion, but you know what? Everybody has one, and thank y'all for taking my call, and God bless you.
Yeah, I welcome other opinions as well, and I wonder with those ads, and it is such a heated race there, and some of the ads are so ugly, and you know, the truth's in there on both sides. I don't always know, but I mean, do you get the sense that those ads more or less, you know, are just going to reconfirm however people were going to vote anyway, or do you really think some people are going to see that and say, well, I was going to vote for Bredesen, but now, I see that ad, I'm going to vote for Blackburn, or vice versa, because Bredesen's ran some attack ads on her, of course, as well. What do you think?
I think what's interesting is that they're both playing to a certain middle group of electorate. In Tennessee, that middle group has tended to vote for Trump, and so Blackburn has Trump on endorsing her Whereas Bredesen is very careful to say, I don't like everything about Donald Trump, but I'll work with him. And so Bredesen is trying to diffuse some of that with some of his ads talking about working with President Trump. And so there's, I think, a very narrow group of undecideds who largely lean Republican, but might vote for Phil Bredesen because of his record, and he's a known quantity, and that they also believe that he'll work bipartisan ways that they actually would approve.
And I wonder how much, you know, and I do see this in a lot of political ads, kind of the fear-mongering type of stuff. Yes. Some of these ads that I've seen at the national stage, that I guess that maybe have been produced by the Republican National Committee, you know, kind of targeting an issue that's important to their constituents, but, you know, these MS-13 gang members that are infiltrating, you know, no evidence of that, okay, or, you know, the illegals coming across and flooding the borders, which they're not flooding the borders, all right? It's not that bad, but I mean, the illegal stuff is still a big issue, but it seems like so much of it is trying to tap into some folks' fears, you know? I mean, just, and people, it just seems to me sometimes are so scared, and I'm wondering why.
Well, the overwhelming evidence is that fear drives more voters than love or sort of appeals, other types of appeals, and that fear is an effective political tool. Yeah. That seems to be something that most people, outside of sort of pocketbook appeals to, you know, wages and jobs and health care, which is the Democrats and what that, but fear is a very powerful motivator.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, obviously, you see it in a lot of the ads. Let's go next to Joe. Good morning, Joe. Hi,
Good morning,
Joe.
Nick.
How are you?
You've kind of hit the nail on the head. Most of all this is politics, and you know, I'm sick of the ads and stuff that's going on. Don't really pay much attention to them, but a lot of people do. And one word you've just spoken, it really plays into a lot of people, and the word is fear. You can use fear to get anything just about done in politics, religion, or whatever. And fear is something that works on people's minds. But back to the immigration thing, all the true Americans is the Indians. They was here before anybody got here. Any of the rest of us got here. Just about all of us in the United States, parents or further back in their history, were immigrants. Donald Trump's father was from Germany, his mother was from Scotland. So, you know, and we've been letting people come in from China, Russia, and all over the world for years. They come over here and go to school. And the guy that runs the China, that runs the economic side of China, trade minister, he came over here, went to school over here at one of the bigger colleges like Yale or Harvard, and went back to China. And he's educated here. So this is a political move for you know, to put fear in people. I don't know the total answer to it. I don't think nobody else does. But it's you know, politics has just got completely, as far as I'm concerned, completely out of hand. You can't believe nothing comes out of these people's mouths, you know. So yeah. I'm just tired of it, sick of it. It don't really affect me one way or the other, you know. I'm not going to listen to it anyway, because it doesn't, you know. You know, you got to use your brain just a little bit.
Oh yeah, well, you're one of those people, Joe. I mean, you know how you're going to vote. You pay attention, and the ads aren't going to influence him one way or the other. I don't blame him being. I think most people are tired to the point where they know how they're going to vote. Right. And if you haven't early voted, then you've got it coming up, right?
Yeah. I mean, the odd thing is, of course, that this will run till Election Day, and that right after Election Day, we're already going to be starting in on the presidential campaign of 2020.
I know. I hadn't realized that. We were talking the other day, and Rick was pointing it out. He goes, the day after that, boom, it's going to start the political campaign for president. Yep. Holy cow. Let's go next to Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Good morning.
Good morning, Dick.
Good morning, Cindy. What's on your mind?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Now it's the third caravan. I have completely had it. That's why I had to leave the Democratic Party. I'm not putting up with this at all. You know, you can't be charging in here without being vetted or anything else. And if you want to know about an anchor baby, if you're born in Mexico, all right, and your parents are a United States citizen and they white, okay, or black, you become an anchor baby. Okay, which means you have dual citizenship. I do not believe any person should have a dual citizenship at all. You pick one country or the other. And don't tell me about Honduras being poor or Guatemala. I know a hell of a lot of them. They go back and forth to visit all the time. They love Honduras, and they also love Guatemala. So they're not the ones that are trafficking, having to be prostituted and everything else. That's a bunch of bull. And I'm sick and tired of anyone trying to put in my mind after what I've worked with, and none of you live around them. None of you worked in a warehouse with them. Absolutely none of you did. And I guarantee it, you don't live in these neighborhoods. I live in these neighborhoods. Sometimes houses have 25, 30 cars that live in a house. Why should my American citizen who was born here, okay, born, why should they? And I know it. When it was a guy born in Mexico and an American-born citizen, and why are they passed over on a college grant? Okay, let me tell you the big thing. So they get 35, 40, 50,000. You know what the American got? $1,000.
Well, I don't know about that. She's angry. You know what I like about this show is you can have Cindy, and then you have Paul at the beginning of the show, and completely diversion. But she's angry about stuff, and look, there's plenty of neighborhoods I've been in where there are American citizens who have a bunch of junky cars in their yard. You know, but I mean, her point to the idea of this caravan, I'm curious. It's become an issue, and obviously the president's talked about it, but I mean, is it any different having just a few thousand folks coming and trying to get in than what's already existing down there, where you may have folks, you know, in Mexico trying to make their way in? I mean, and I don't know anyone, Democrats or Republicans, say, "Oh, I just open it up and just welcome them all in." Right. What typically should happen as they hit the border there?
Well, they should go through a process of vetting, as you know, was suggested. They should be, but they would have to apply for asylum.
And the president has said as much. Then he'll arrange a situation whereby they're in tents, whatever, while they can apply and vet and see. I'm guessing that vetting is going to find that most of them will not be allowed in, but I don't know. But I mean, it's not like this is some armed horde that's going to rush the gates and come flooding into this country. Certainly not now with the additional troops going down there, but that was never the threat to begin with. These are kids in baby strollers too. The idea is they're going to be there, and no one's saying they should just be let in. So I don't see how it's becoming this issue of, well, just let them come on in.
Well, it's politicized in the sense that the Republicans have accused the Democrats of wanting open borders where anybody could come in. And let's face it, I mean, there's lots and lots of poor people in the world who would love to come to the United States. And so that does conjure up sort of fears. I mean, this caravan, what's unusual about it is that it's organized and it's large. Most illegal immigration takes place on sort of individual levels, people crossing the borders, small scale trucks and things like that, with people being in the back or hidden or something like that. So this is unusual, and it's raised these issues. It's partly also because the American economy is so strong that so many people want to come here to work, and there are the jobs and the rest that would possibly take them. So it's a political and then also simply representative of what's going on in the.
I do wonder if some of these major employers, many of them probably, you know, maybe big money, maybe Republican supporters, but the big employers out there would actually welcome more, because the fact is right now, there are a lot of jobs out there. I mean, no one's going to be calling in saying that these illegals are coming in and saying it's taking your job, because if you're saying that, you're not trying. There is work out there. I just wonder, you know, sometimes, especially in the fields and stuff, would they welcome that? I don't know. That may go against some of their other beliefs. So we'll take a break. When we come back, the number 737-7587 is the number. If you're on hold, Brian, Wayne, Sharon, Ann, we'll get to you right after this.
a story.